So now we're going to do the bacterial overgrowth. So basically what happens here, there is abdominal distension, flatulence, diarrhea, weight loss, quantitative, qualitative fecal fat, it is increased here. There in advanced cases, patient is again deficiency of ADB12 and iron as well. So yes, diagnosis here is important. We do the uh, breath test using glucose, lactulose, or C-carbulose as a substrate. Guys, very much important. And is the question of Sanjay Sharma here. It shows all the flow chart. Diagnosis is confirmed by jejunal. Now here the jejunal aspiration is coming with quantitative bacterial culture. So guys, the tests are breath tests of the glucose, lactulose, and carbon 14 xylose test, and diagnosis by jejunal aspiration. All right. So next consideration is again there is small number of bacteria over there, fish, and overgrowth happens and malabsorption happens. Okay, and it will all do all the nasty thing and malabsorption of all the vitamins, the important fat soluble, and the patient also affect on the absorption of the vitamin B12, carbohydrates. So it is also affecting carbohydrate, and it will proliferate and it will damage the wall of the intestine and brush borders, and no absorption of the fat, protein, minerals, etc., etc. Okay. Now, causes of bacterial overgrowth. One of what we have to do, the causes number one is gastric achlorhydra, no HCl in the stomach due to the excessive use of PPIs. One thing. Number two, anatomical abnormality, that is small intestine with stagnation. After Billroth gastrectomy, we do that. Billroth 2 gastrogynostomy. Here it had and due to the ileocecal valve resection, small intestinal now another thing is small intestinal diverticula or obstruction or blind loop. Okay, these are basically this is mechanical growth causes. Number one is acid absence in the stomach. Number two, mechanical problems, due to the different procedures, due to the diverticulars, etc. And small intestinal motility disorders. Just a minute, just a minute. Okay, just a minute, guys. All right. So, patient has. I was telling you about the mechanical problems to them, and sometimes patient has problem with the motility. The motility problem, that is vagotomy has happened, scleroderma. Motility disorder, diabetic enteropathy, chronic intestinal pseudo obstruction. These are motility problems. Now there are some fistulas, gastrocolic, antral fistula, just like in the Crohn's disease it happens, we just read it. Some malignancy, surgical resection, these are all the causes. Now there are some miscellaneous disorders it can also cause it, and in older patient it is also a cause. So all right, so next is clinical features. Patient, all the features of malabsorption, so just no need of read it. Okay, so just leave it. Okay, now the tests we have to do, that is important here. The tests are coming here. Patient can present with anemia, any kind of microcytic anemia. Now what second test we have to do, a stool collection should be obtained to corroborate the presence of steatorrhea. Yes, we do the stool examination. We already said that we do the all the vitamin level, A, D, B12, serum iron levels. We see that, and specific diagnosis can be done by taking the aspirates and cultures of the proximal jejunum secretion. Okay, and if it is greater than 10 raised to the power 5 organism per ml, so this is basically diagnosis. Okay, however invasive and laborious tests require careful collection and culturing technique, and therefore is not available in many clinical practice. So which clinically we do it. So yes, this non-invasive testing is important here, that is breath testing. Okay, and it has a good sensitivity 60 to 90% and specificity of 85% and with the jejunal culture. Okay, that's great. So hydrogen breath testing, okay, and methane testing with glucose, lactulose as substrates are commonly done because of their ease of use. Hydrogen breath, we give the glucose, we see the hydrogen, and methane test, we give the lactulose and we see that the breath. Okay, sometimes we do CT, MRI, angiography, enterography, and barium and radiography to these patients, etc. So, all right. So, what is the treatment? Treatment here, what we have to do. Yes, treatment is so much important. We have to give the patient a treatment of about 1 to 2 weeks. Okay, with oral broad spectrum antibiotics. Right. It affect against enteral aerobes. Right, and anaerobes as well. And there's a dramatic response. Now we have to just learn the names. Ciprofloxacin 500 mgs, norfloxacin 400 mg, amoxicillin, that is augmentin A75, or combination of metronidazole, that is 250 mg 3 times a day, plus either trimethoprim, that is Septron, twice daily, or cephalexin 4 times daily. This is given. Basically, they are saying, or I think so. Yes, first of all, either we can give Cipro 500 nor 400, augmentin, basically Cipro group. Okay, Quinolone group 1. Then we give augmentin second group, or a combination of this Metro plus Septron. Okay, it is given twice daily, or cephalexin. Got it? It's like that. We give. And now rifaximin, that is 400 mg twice daily. It is a non-absorbable. Guys, they ask, the examiner asked, what is rifaximin? So basically, this is a non-absorbable antibiotic that also appears to be effective, but has fewer side effects that can be for the antibiotics. Basically, it kills the bacterial, all the flora. Sometimes the bad notorious bacteria. Okay, sometimes this disease again recur, so 1 week out of 4 may be sufficient. uh, okay, right, so we have to give 1 week of 4 weeks. 1 week we have to give the treatment if the patient has again recurrence of this disease. Okay, and continuous antibiotic should be avoided if the possible, to avoid the development of the bacterial resistance. Give me 1 second, guys. There's a call.